My mother was a very secretive and private woman.
I just don't want to put any more stress on my family.
We established this at the beginning of the day, but we decided to save this conversation for right now.
Every time one of us wanted to get into it, we would stop ourselves and say, "Save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
Save it for the
You gotta save
podcast."
the energy, man. You can't let it go.
All right, we've held you in suspense long enough. This segment's called the Cinedome. We're gonna try to do this every week, where we each have a topic point that we want to defend. Whoever makes the best point wins. We don't really have a judge yet, so I guess just whoever lives, whoever chokes the other person out
So
and
is this
kills
like,
them
This is like what, death battle?
This is
for
to the
our,
death, my
our,
friend.
Our version of death battle.
to the death. One of us is walking out of here, and the other one will be Mel Gibson. So the topic we're going to take on is the film Hereditary that came out 2 weeks ago. We held some critical acclaim here and there. A lot of the reviewers on YouTube have been talking about it,
They've been calling it the next Exorcist, or the Exorcist of this generation.
which I agree is. I think we'll both say right now is kind of a stretch.
Yeah,
Because we both agree that The Exorcist is a good movie. It's a great movie.
Yes. Like, whenever I hear somebody, like, this isn't the first time. I remember there was another movie. I forgot which one it was, but there has been a couple of times throughout the years where they've said, "Oh, this movie is the next Exorcist."
Mhm.
My thing is, if you're gonna call it the next Exorcist, that right
People need
there-
to be like fainting in the theaters
Yes.
watching this.
People need to be grossed out
Yeah.
or just like paranoid.
They
When
need to
watching
walk
it.
out shook.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I walked out of Hereditary thinking about, outside of my own periphery of what could be scary. What I find scary is people. I find human behavior terrifying
Oh,
overall.
definitely.
Keep your Jasons and your Freddys. Michael Myers is scary on his own because that dude never dies.
Yeah.
Um,
Never explained that.
So, what pulled me into this movie at first was the psychological aspect.
Definitely.
I'm going to
yeah.
defend this point first just because I feel like my point's more valid. And I know
Alright.
whatever you're going to say, I'm just going to the whole time because I know
No,
it's
then I- well,
bullshit.
Well, you haven't even heard my
That's
argument
true.
points
That's
yet.
fair.
But I'll let you go first. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Go ahead.
I liked it because when I walked in, I expected to be just a psychological film. A film about a family's dirty past coming back to haunt them and breaking them apart, like The Witch, where you see this family's values pit against itself and then they crumble from within. That was the case until the end of the first act for me. Spoilers, by the way. Spoilers.
Oh yeah,
spoilers.
I
We're gonna
forgot to
put
mention. Yeah, when we talk about this right now, we're
graphics
gonna
everywhere.
do spoilers for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So if you have not seen the movie yet, as a matter of fact, right now, tune out now. Otherwise, at your own risk, by all means.
So at the end of the first act, when the little girl was killed, that threw me through a loop. I
Yeah.
was not expecting her to be the first casualty of this film.
Same. I thought she was gonna be throughout the whole film like the menacing figure.
Like the Damien character, the
Exactly.
prophecy. And we'll get to that in a minute. So once that occurred, I knew I was in a new realm. I knew, okay, it's not going to be a psychological film. There's going to be something extra to this because she was the
Definitely.
main point of the trailer. So obviously she's an important figure in the
It's
film.
like at that point, well, what direction do you go in?
Exactly. So once they establish that, you see the family toil in this recent death after having experienced another recent death of the mother.
Yeah.
That's when all the weird shit really started happening. But once the daughter dies, she's established all this weird, creepy stuff happening, and she basically fulfills a destiny, a prophecy that her grandmother had set in motion years ahead with this
Yeah.
cult that their family, her line, her lineage was going to be the Antichrist.
Yeah. Something
And
like
they
that.
fulfilled it. So it went from a psychological film to a paranormal film
Mhm.
when they introduced the Satanist aspect to it at the end, ultimately becoming a Rosemary's Baby type ending, which to me is
Yeah.
one of the most terrifying endings of any film. So that's why I appreciated the film on that level.
Yeah.
So why you take me off this pedestal, kick me off of the hill, and tell me
Alright.
why your opinion is king.
I'll tell you that when I first went to the movie, I honestly didn't expect it to be as terrifying as The Exorcist. The beginning, as you said, towards the end of the first act, when the daughter Charlie, when she's just axed off immediately, I was thinking, "Oh crap!" And then the next dramatic shot they show is her face rotting on the side of the
and the
room.
mom screaming. Oh goodness.
That right there, I was like, okay, now you caught me. Like, it was eerie when you would see like the specter of the mom in the shadows. And you think, oh, and then like it's gone. But it's like that was eerie right there. That was well done. That was cool. The camera work, I will say too, for the film was beautiful as well. Don't get me wrong.
Cinematography was beautiful.
Cinematography, well shot film. But in terms of the story, for me personally, it was a little too slow.
Okay.
That's how it was. I kind of knew when going in it was going to be a slow burn. I was expecting a lot of eeriness. I did get some of that. And then I saw that it was more of a dramatic or a drama film. It was a drama film with horror elements. That's what I call it. That's how I view it. And when I went watching it, by the time the ending kicked in and when all the horror came out the last 20 minutes, for me personally, I kind of checked out a little bit. I was like, you're bringing in the scares now. The scares are cool, but it's too late for me. The entertainment value for me was kind of gone by that point.
So I guess what you're telling me is that they focused more on the family
They did.
than the horror.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of like took you out of it.
It took me out of it. Like, my thing is,
because it was mainly about the mother and son.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
Toni Collette was fantastic.
Oh, beautiful
in this film.
performance.
She was great.
Absolutely amazing.
But my thing was that it was more about the drama aspect. It was more about the family.
Yeah.
Like, when you compare, I don't mean to compare it. Like, of course, The Conjuring 2 had a bigger budget, but aside from that, like, they were able to incorporate character along with the scares as well. And with this one, I saw it more as just about the family, and then the scares came in at the last minute.
Yeah, I don't see that so much. I mean, I felt for every character in that film. I understood Toni Collette's perspective of having a family when she didn't want it.
Yeah.
And having all these events happen around her, like sleepwalking against her will, almost killing her son against her will, and having that held over her head by her son for the rest of the film.
Yeah.
I understood the son's perspective of feeling like not a piece of shit, but feeling like the neglected son, feeling like the less than in the mom's eyes. I got that perspective.
Yeah.
They had that distance through the whole film. And when that scene came up where she was confessing to him, like, I didn't want to have a kid. I didn't want to be a mom. Like, I tried to kill you as a kid, as a baby. Like, that just
that
reached
was
into
dark.
me. And the dad, I felt bad for the dad out of all the characters.
Byrne,
Man,
Gabriel Byrne.
he had
I love
no negative or malicious intent in
No.
any aspect of the film, but he got the worst of it.
Yeah, he was just trying to keep everything together
That
as
is
best as he
so
could.
sad. So I mean, it was a tragedy, and the horror I felt had to be secondary. So I mean, I get why most people won't appreciate this film and why
Yeah.
they won't get it the first time around. But like you've mentioned earlier, this is sort of in the plot or in the thread of The Witch, and it comes at night where you're expecting one kind of horror and you walk out with another.
Like, for example, The Witch I enjoyed, and I understood that when watching it, it was going to be a horror film where it took its time.
Mhm.
But when it brought in scares or the uneasiness, it hit hard to the point where you're like, oh boy, I don't know if I can watch that again. Or like, for example, like The Crow and then the mom nursing the crow.
Right.
That was really unsettling. And then It Comes at Night. That one, like I said, the title is called It Comes at Night. But when you watch the film, you get a completely different film than you're expecting. I don't want to go too much into detail for those who haven't seen that one either. But that one right there, you just watch it and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's not what you would expect. But I'm not saying that Hereditary was a bad film. By all means, no. It was a good film. But my personal take on it was, it wasn't the horror masterpiece that I thought it was like praised to be. But then again, everybody has their own opinion.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I think
everybody-
like if you
yeah.
watch it a few more times, there'll maybe be things that we missed. Like
Yeah.
we didn't even talk about the orb that
Mhm.
really is prevalent. Like it's sort of that lens flare for like a watch that you'd get from
Yeah.
the sun. That was throughout the whole film, and I
Yeah.
felt like that was conscious for a reason. Like that represented, the spirit itself, the demon transferring from each person
That, I
and
believe,
fucking
is
their
what it
life up.
meant.
Which
Yeah.
I love symbolism like that. Like that's why I connect it so much to The Exorcist is, you have the symbolism in the first scene when the guy's in Iraq digging out the talisman and the
Yeah.
dogs and the statue in the sun
And
and
you just get this
the
uneasiness.
clock stopping. There's a lot of just subtleties to it. Like when the son woke up and you see the mom just in the corner of the room and you
Yeah.
barely see her when he turns and she just floats away.
That was very
Whew, that was enough for me, man. I checked out after that. Just I was scared.
Like, I'll say this. Here's the thing. I'll say this. The movie was well made. Definitely, hands down. Beautifully made film. Is it for everybody? No, definitely not. But is it at least worth a watch? I would say yes.
I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah. In fact, I will say, I'm actually going to say right now, I actually want to watch it again.
Okay, so
I
I
do.
think I've convinced you. I think that's official. I win the argument. I
Well-
win. I'm the best. You lose. You're dead.
I'm just saying I want to watch it again.
Two men
That-
enter. One man leaves.
That's not saying that like I changed my opinion on it completely. But I'll just say like it's
Right.
an interesting film though.
Mhm.
It's a very interesting movie.
Okay.